Forgotten shadows. In the small, forgotten town of Elmstead, where fog clung to the cobblestone streets like an unwelcome guest, there stood an ancient house at the end of Wraith Lane. The townsfolk spoke of it only in hushed tones, referring to it simply as the Grey House. For decades, it had been left to rot, windows dark and its walls crumbling. But the house wasn't empty. It was waiting. Lena had always been fascinated by old buildings, and when she heard about the Grey House, she felt an inexplicable urge to explore it. Her friends warned her against it, but she was drawn to the place as if something inside calling her. With a backpack filled with supplies and a camera, she set out one dreary afternoon, determined to uncover the secrets the house held. The air grew colder as Lena approached the Grey House. The front gate creaked open as if inviting her in, and she hesitated only for a moment before stepping through. The garden was overgrown, the remnants of once beautiful flowers now twisted into gnarled shapes. The house loomed before her, its door slightly ajar, beckoning. Inside, the house was dark, the only light coming from the small cracks in the boarded-up windows. Dust covered everything, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. As Lena moved through the rooms, she felt a strange presence, like she was being watched. But she dismissed it as nerves and continued her exploration. In the main hallway, Lena found a large, ornate mirror covered in grime. She wiped away the dust, revealing her reflection. Something was wrong. Her reflection didn't match her movement. It was smiling, cold, sinister grin that sent shivers down her spine. Startled, Lena stepped back, her heart pounding. The reflection stood still for a moment, then began to move on its own, mimicking Lena's every move, but with a twisted, malicious intent. She tried to look away, but her gaze was locked on the mirror. The reflection raised a hand and waved, as if to beckon Lena closer. The house groaned, and the floorboards creaked as if something heavy was moving within the walls. The reflection's grin widened as it leaned forward, its eyes darkening into hollow voids. Lena felt a cold hand on her shoulder and spun around, but there was nothing there, only the oppressive silence of the house. Panicking, Lena turned back to the mirror, but her reflection was gone. In its place was a dark, endless void, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. From the darkness, twisted faces began to emerge, their mouths open in silent screams. Lena stumbled backward, her breath coming in short gasps. A low whisper echoed through the house, growing louder with each passing second. The words were incomprehensible, but their meaning was clear. She was not alone. Something ancient and malevolent had been awakened, and it was hungry. The floorboards beneath Lena began to warp and twist as if trying to pull her into the darkness. She tried to run, but the house seemed to stretch on forever, its walls closing in around her. Every door she tried was locked, every window boarded shut. The whispers grew louder, turning into a cacophony of voices, all screaming for her to join them. Finally, Lena found herself back in front of the mirror. Reflection had returned. It was no longer hers. It was a twisted version of herself, eyes black as coal, mouth stretched into a horrific grin. Stepped out of the mirror, the glass rippling like water, and reached out for her. Lena screamed as the reflection's cold hand touched her skin, and the world around her dissolved into darkness. The last thing she saw was her own terrified face staring back at her from the mirror, trapped behind the glass. The next day, the townsfolk noticed something strange. The Grey House, long thought abandoned, had a new occupant. A woman's figure could be seen through the windows, standing motionless in the main hallway, staring into a mirror. No one dared go near. They knew better than to disturb the forgotten shadows that lingered within those walls. As time passed, the legend of the Grey House grew, and the townsfolk added another warning to their whispers. Beware the mirror, for it does not show your reflection, it shows your fate.